everyone. My name is Yvonne Max, and I'm the founder and the chair of the channel community, and also the founder and CEO of CoCheer, a coaching and consulting practice, and also a channel community goal supporter. Welcome to the next episode of Smashing the Class Ceiling. In this series, I will be interviewing and showcasing some of the fantastic individuals that we have in the channel who have all come from a low social economic background, but have gone on to build incredibly successful careers. They will be sharing their stories of how they have navigated the corporate corridors and smashed through that class ceiling. So, without delay, I would like to welcome my very next guest, Jody Wharton. Jody is the strategic partnership lead working with startups, unicorns, and digital natives across Western Europe at Microsoft. Thank you so much, Jody, for agreeing to come on the show and share your story with us.
Hi, Yvonne. Thank you so much. Really excited to be here and be part of this. What
No,
a great topic, and yeah, really pleased to be here.
I can't wait to get started. Thank you. So, Jody, we were only very recently introduced by a mutual industry friend after knowing that we both have a very shared passion for social mobility. And she obviously knew your background and knew that you would be an amazing fit for our podcast. So I'm really excited to get to hear your story. So tell me about where you grew up and talk to me about your early career.
Sure. So, quite quite a, a different background, I would say. So, I was born in Canada in the Rocky Mountains to two British parents in 1980. Giving away my age there, getting on a bit. And had, I would say, probably quite a traditional family upbringing for my sort of early years. We did move over to the East Coast, and I grew up there with my mum and dad and my brother and sister for till I was nearly 12. At that point, my parents split up, and my mum decided to move back to England to be near her family again. And I guess that's where I wouldn't say life got necessarily tough. It's maybe the wrong words, but it was certainly we had some very challenging years. My mum was a single mum navigating coming back to a country with minimal support, although she had family around. She didn't have, I guess, the full sort of community, and her family lived all over the UK. We therefore ended up moving around quite a lot. I went to a number of different schools. So I guess that sort of sets the scene a little bit for then moving on. Throughout school, did pretty well. I got 11 GCSEs, good grades. And I guess there was hope and aspiration from my mum and my teachers that I would follow the normal path and do A levels, then go on to university. But I would say by 16, I was a bit of a lost soul. I tried A levels, dropped out, tried A levels again, dropped out again. Was sort of working at Safeway, didn't really know what I was doing or what my direction in life was going to be. I think my mum was tearing her hair out. As a mum of teenagers now, I know what that's like. And really, I guess it was sort of fortunate that I don't even know if they have job centres in the same way they did back then, but I was sort of looking for something else, and I came across an Office Junior role for a Microsoft partner called Phoenix Software back in 1998, and I decided to apply. And really, they were, I guess, my formative years of my career. I worked there for a significant amount of time, starting as Office Junior and working my way up to managing some different sales teams and working in alliances there, and sort of, I guess, opened up my eyes to the world of IT sales and what that could mean, and I guess found my way a little bit, which was a relief to all.
So you went from Safeway straight to Phoenix, is that right?
Correct, exactly
Wow.
that.
So how long were
Um,
you at Safeway for?
God, a couple of years. I mean, it was one of those that during school I was sort of on the checkouts, and then I was sort of took more hours when I dropped out. So probably doing, I don't know, 20 to 30 hours a week up there.
Yeah.
Um, Believe it or not, I took a pay cut to go to Phoenix. I know we were talking just before we kicked this off around sort of pay in those early years, and although it wasn't an official sort of apprenticeship program, their view was sort of bring in juniors and train them up to work through the ranks. But yeah, I was on a pittance. earned probably half what I was earning at Safeway, doing almost double the amount of hours. But I really loved and was excited to be like, I felt like I was a career person, even though I
Yeah.
was doing shredding in a shed and filling up the vending machine when the salespeople demanded more cheese and onion crisps. I'd sort of turn up with the suit, feeling like I was the bee's knees, and found I could see, I guess, some opportunity in front of me, which I wouldn't necessarily have had when I was working on the floors at a supermarket.
Yeah, no, so very, very similar. You know, we spoke about it before. My first job was as in an office as a sales admin. My first full-time job, my first actual job, I think, was picking weeds at a garden centre. But the full-time position was on YTS, very low paid, £35 a week, I think it was. And I ended up having to do multiple jobs, but it was the opportunity that I wouldn't have had I not gone into that. So it's something very similar. And I remember very vividly, you mentioned shredding. Um, Not long after joining, they were like, "Can you do the filing?" And obviously, coming from being a big fish in a little pond at school to going to being a little fish to a massive pond of the world of work, I was like, "I don't want to do your filing." And then I got told quite quickly, "You are doing the filing." So off I went doing the
This is not
filing.
up for debate.
Yeah, no, this is not up for debate. I was like, "What? I don't want to do your filing." Looks like I'm doing your filing. Well, I even made that a bit of a challenge. Made it okay. If I'm going to do your filing, I'm going to make it the best filing system you've ever had. Try and make something light of a really bad situation. It was just your comment about the shredding. It brought back
Yeah.
memories.
Oh yeah, they were the days of glamour, and I mean, I mentioned I've got teenage children now, and I have to remind them that actually, although it's tough and you don't want to go and do those jobs, actually it's really important to understand all of the different parts of a business and
Yeah.
what feeds into the success, and you have to start somewhere, and you have to do it with a smile on your face if you're going to get promoted and get the other opportunities in front of you. But yes, many a swear word passed my lips while I was in that shed.
Love it. So is that, I mean, I'm assuming then that's how you ended up in the channel because Phoenix were, well, they still are, or is that
Correct.
right? They still, yeah, they
Yeah,
still
they
are
still are.
very
Yeah.
prevalent today, aren't they?
They really are. So yeah, it was funny. We didn't really have computing at school, but I did business studies, which involved using a computer, and I was rubbish at it. So the irony of ending up in an IT role was just, yeah, still it shocks me that that's the path I've ended up on. But yeah, again, it wasn't an intentional move there. It was there's an opportunity, they've got a role, and okay, I can do it. But once there, the benefit of being in the office junior role was that I got to see and be part of things going on in all of the different departments. I actually thought I'd want to go into marketing, which again is hilarious because I've got no creative bone in my body. But that was where I thought, my big ambitions as a 17-year-old, where I thought I'd want to go. But I got to see, purchasing, I got to see accounts, I got to see dispatch, I got to see all of these different parts. And but I soon found, surprise, surprise, with my love of chat, that I felt most at home on the sales floor. And I was, very lucky. There were some sales directors there who I guess saw something in me and gave me some little opportunities to prove myself, doing, again, hilarious now thinking back to it, but can you call around these companies and get their email addresses? Because email addresses were a new thing, um, and input them into the system. But I picked up those opportunities and thought, yeah, like your point there around, I'm going to make it the best filing. I'm like, I'm going to get the most email addresses and prove that, I should be here on the sales floor permanently.
I love that. So how did you go from Phoenix to Microsoft then?
Yeah, a bit of a squiggly career along the way. So started at Phoenix at 17, worked there until I was 22, 23. And then at that point, I actually moved back to Canada. My dad asked me to go and work with him out in Nova Scotia. So I moved back with my then ex-husband, although he was my fiance at the time, and did a couple of years in Canada. Um, Decided I missed home too much, and it wasn't really what I wanted to do. So we moved home. and Phoenix offered me another role in an account executive role. So I was there for another 5 or 6 years. Had all 3 children while I was there. But actually, while I was on maternity leave with my third, I got approached by another software reseller, Software One, about a new northern office that was being set up. I live up in Yorkshire. And I thought, you know what? I've done almost my whole career, bar my little time in Canada, in one company. It's maybe time for me to spread my wings a little bit, and took the opportunity there. So I did a couple of years at Software One in a sort of new business role. In that time, I met another partner who were more of a like a boutique SI, doing services and consulting around Microsoft System Center. And I did some partnership with them. And then they offered me a role. And again, I thought, this sounds really exciting, a bit different. I've been selling licensing all my career and software
Mhm.
asset management. Be good to get into doing something new. Worked for them, Inframon, for nearly 5 years through a couple of acquisitions, and they were sort of quite a go-to partner for Microsoft again around System Center and then more laterally Azure. And I started to work really closely with the Microsoft team, sort of on site with them regularly, just getting to know the structure, their customers. We were brought in a lot to support Microsoft sellers in opportunities. I then left there and went to an ISV, a Swiss ISV, for a couple of years. Didn't have the best time. I actually faced quite a bit of not very nice behavior from management there, and
Mhm.
was feeling really down and really low and very worthless, if I'm honest. Felt like my ability to sell had been totally questioned, and I then questioned myself. And actually, another friend at Microsoft said, why don't you come work for us? We've always wanted you here. And so 4.5 years ago, I joined Microsoft and then done a few roles since. So that was
Fantastic.
quite,
It's
sorry to go on there a bit.
no,
That
don't be
was
silly.
quite the
It's
monologue.
it's great, and it's very inspirational. One, because you're a woman in tech and sales, which is quite unheard of still to this day, especially on the reseller side. I think you see it a lot more in the vendors, but resellers
Yeah,
less so much. But
would
also, you
agree.
mentioned about squiggly careers. I don't know anybody that's had a linear career. Not Ariane Huffington. Sheryl Sandberg, she calls it a career gym, like a jungle gym, rather than a career ladder. And I think most of us have experienced that. I've changed it,
100%.
transferred industries and roles and done all sorts. And I don't actually know anybody that's had this clear trajectory of a straightforward approach. So I'm definitely understanding of the squiggly career. So what do you think the biggest challenges have been that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Um, I mean, definitely different challenges throughout life. I guess where I've been in my life and where I've been with my own confidence levels. Um, I think, initially thinking back, again, I was quite lucky. I still call it luck that I ended up at Phoenix and I got offered that role. I know people say you make your own luck, and I worked really hard once I was there, but I think I was really lucky that I happened to be in the job center and saw that role. But throughout that time, it was quite insular. And I didn't see much of going on what was outside there. Knowing where I could go and what my worth was definitely a big thing that held me back, and didn't I I was determined. I always wanted to be successful, but I had no idea really what I was aspiring to. I was just like, keep working and prove myself. But I didn't really know. I mean, I'm still not sure I fully know now, but but it's certainly back then. I think, you know, education. I mentioned, I dropped out of A levels. I've only got GCSEs, and that both, I guess, in reality has held me back from roles, but also in my head has held me back from roles. And in fact, when I got this friend sort of suggested joining Microsoft, I was super worried because every single job post that goes out from Microsoft is, minimum of a bachelor's degree, ideally some form of master's. And I was
Yeah.
thinking, well, I'm going to be scrubbed before I even, apply. And, that has certainly held me back. It has, like I say, fear of rejection because of that,
Yeah.
even though I think it is absolutely insane, because surely after 20 odd years of experience, I'm not sure how relevant a degree would be anyway. But yeah, I think that side particularly has been a challenge.
Yeah, I honestly, that totally resonates. I was exactly the same. And I think it's literally only probably in the last 12 months that I've finally put that one to bed.
Good girl.
Because, well, but it's to your point, everybody puts in their request, in their job specs, a degree, a bachelor's degree. Some even go further to say they want it from a Ivy League or a Richmond Red Brick University. And you're like, well, I've got no chance. I've got BTEC National in Business and Finance that I did on day release on my YTS. And like the irony is, you and I will outperform most people that have got those master's degrees and have got the bachelor's, but we just already discount ourselves because of that one little requirement. And it time and time again, and it's proven that it's not education that is the proven mark of success. It's resilience and grit and passion and perseverance. And all of these things that come very naturally to people from a low social economic background that make them incredibly work hard, work incredibly hard or, you know, push forward are the things that really matter as opposed to the degree. But and I think we're still a way to go on that, but things are slowly starting to change. But no, I'm honestly, I felt exactly the same. I was a Cisco specialist, and my dream job would have been to work at Cisco, but because I never had a degree, there's no way I would have ever approached them, which is nuts, really, when you think about
Yeah,
it.
it is exactly
Yeah,
crazy and a loss to them.
yeah,
I did do an article for Microsoft not so well, not long after I joined. They were sort of again I was initially in a Azure specialist role, which was quite technical, and they were sort of saying that they were struggling to get diverse applicants, right? It was mainly white males applying for the role, and they
yeah,
wanted to, I guess, showcase that other types of people can do the role.
yeah,
But I talked about that actually that that in itself is off-putting, putting that on particularly for a senior role. I think, for entry roles, I can sort of see they may even want some form of basic whatever the education requirement is. But for a
yeah.
senior role, does a degree really make any difference? Surely the experience is what matters. Um, and although I put it out there and I was part of this article, I'm still not sure Microsoft have or will ever change their policies on that. But I think it's sad. I think it's sad that it holds us back individually, but also these companies are potentially missing out on amazing candidates.
Yeah, no, definitely. They definitely are missing out because of that. People are just shying away from applying because they've already said, they've already put themselves out of the running, which is a real shame. So, what has been your proudest moment of your career and why is that?
Yeah, it's really hard to think of the proudest moment. Got lots of little proud moments, and I guess looking back, I'm just proud of where I've got to and what I've done. I guess it's hard. It's weird, isn't it? Again, sometimes we have a bit of shame in sort of saying that, which is also a bit sad. But I am proud of where I've got to, and I'm proud that every bit of success I've had is through my own hard work and determination. I haven't had a helping hand. There's been no, but yes, okay, I've had a friend say, come and work at Microsoft. I still had to go through the processes, and everything has been based on the work I've done, the success I've had, I guess the relationships I've built. It's not been through any form of assistance in any
Yeah,
way, financially or through, yeah, connections. So I think just being proud of getting to where I have done and being able to build a life for my children. I'm, being financially independent. It's just a really great place to be. And when I think back to, growing up, how tough it was, certainly through my high school years, um, it's really nice to know that I've been able to do more and offer more, I guess, to my children through
Yeah.
my own hard work and determination to get here.
And quite rightly so, and it is so rewarding when you've done it yourself. If, and I think it's one of the things that makes you feel so much more grateful when you do get there, and so much more appreciative of everything, especially when you, I don't know about yourself, Jody, but I still have a number of friends that don't have a huge amount. And I'm very mindful of the fact that I'm in this very, unique position to them. And, so it's how do you be grateful but also appreciative that not everybody's in that same position. And it's, it's a tough place to be,
Agreed.
because we're, I've come from working class to I'm now middle class. And even though I hate that term, because anybody calls middle class, I go, I'm not middle class, I'm working class. It's like I'm so proud of my roots. But it's true. With
I
is
agree.
how do you protect your children from some of the entitlement and, you know and
One of my biggest questions to myself every day, my point around saying about how to work hard and those the jobs that you have to do early on, it's if you find the answer to that, please let me
yeah,
know. Because like you say, you want to give them the opportunities and I guess the life that maybe you didn't have. I don't want it to be as tough for them. But equally, I don't want them to be unappreciative and to grow
yeah,
up thinking that life is just a bed of roses and you just get what you want and everything is, easy and easy for everyone because they can then live quite a sheltered life. And I always think one one of the benefits, I think, certainly my background is I think one, I moved around a lot and got to, had to meet friends and everything. But I've seen all walks of life and I am so conscious of that, empathetic of that, and like you said, appreciative actually of everything that I do have.
yeah.
Which I'm not sure you can necessarily have if you haven't experienced that.
No, absolutely. And it's a really fine balance. I haven't got to, I haven't perfected it yet, but if I come up with the perfect solution, I will
That's
share
your
it
next
with you.
book.
Yeah, that's my next book. How to bring up a middle class child to be grateful and appreciative
I am
and not
signing up.
and not entitled.
Please.
Oh my gosh. Oh dear. So how do you think then that coming from a low social economic background has impacted your career, either positively or negatively or both?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I'm quite an optimist anyway. And again, I don't like to look at the negatives. Life's been tough at times, but for me, I do actually only see mainly positives. In that it's just given me, like we just talked about, that drive, determination, work ethic that I have just had consistently. Keep telling myself, stop, please, Jody, stop working so hard now. You don't quite have to do that, but it's just in me. And I think that's something I'm grateful for. And always, I don't know who I'm trying to prove it to. I don't know. Still don't know who that mystery person is, but I'm determined to prove it to them that I can do it. Um, so I think overall, I think it's been positive. Like I say, things like the educational background, I guess sometimes the doubt when I've been in rooms, and I know this is more around social mobility than gender, but from social mobility and then combined with gender in a man's world.
Yeah,
And I've done a lot of work in, say, banking and capital markets. A lot of very middle and upper class men.
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, the little voices in my head going, "What are you doing here?" They're gonna laugh,
Good
especially with
old
my
imposter
weird
syndrome.
Canadian, big time, my weird
Yeah.
Canadian Yorkshire accent that nobody knows what it is and where I come from. Um, but I guess I've learned over the years to use that voice again to push me on further and try and ignore it as best I can and pretend I'm really confident and I can go and do it. And then somehow I manage to do it.
Well, you're certainly doing a good job. And I think, it's that proving a point that does drive you.
Yeah,
even if it is just to yourself. And you can let these scenarios either drive you forward or you can let it hold you back. And I'm really
agree.
happy to hear that you're letting it keeping you drive forward. So, knowing now what you know and what you've achieved, what would you say to a younger version of Jody?
Mm. I always think these questions are really interesting because you think, actually everything that I've done, good, bad, ugly, and there's been all of the above, has got me to where I have today. So would I change anything? Probably not. I mean, I wish I'd had more confidence in myself when I was younger, for sure. Um, but I am grateful that I've been brave to take opportunities when they presented themselves. And like I say, they haven't always worked out, but and there's been some pretty dark, horrible times throughout that process. But I do think it's maybe stronger in the end anyway. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't change it, even though at the time I would have begged somebody to change it.
No, I love that. I love that. So, what support and help do you think that companies could do to help individuals coming from a low social economic background?
Well, again, I think a whole reshake of just recruitment process for one.
Yeah.
Again, thinking about what are the requirements for the role. Surely, I say things like education and things don't need to be part of that. I think there's also work to be done. And to be fair, I've been involved in some programs with Microsoft around social mobility and going into schools in low socio let me say that again in low socioeconomic areas to go and give some inspiration around what the roles are and what they could do. Because, we all know if you haven't seen it or heard of it, or you haven't
Yeah.
happened to get that job that was in the job center, how do you know it's there? So I
Yeah.
think, yes, we need to sort of change things at the recruitment end and being more open. And again, I think the idea of CVs without um, education and details of the people of personal details, I think are really good. But I think before that, I think it's about how do we open up doors and opportunities and inspiration and ambitions in people to come and be part of these sessions. I think things in school, you know um programs working again with communities to help people upskill, particularly in the world of IT. It's a
Yeah.
crazy world, changing at an unbelievable pace. There's not going to be enough roles in AI, or not enough people to fill all the AI roles. So actually, why are we not again taking people and thinking about people from different backgrounds that are actually going to help us influence
Yeah.
AI in the right way? So, yeah, long answer there, but I think there's quite a few different areas we need to be thinking. But that ambition and inspiration bit, I think, is
Yeah.
almost the most important bit.
No, I really like that. You can't be what you can't see. That's something I always say.
Yeah,
And another thing that there's a strap line that the Social Mobility Foundation use quite a lot, and I love it. Talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. So how do we
bang
reach out
on.
and get to that talent and help encourage them and nurture them and bring them in? Because we have a problem at the moment. Only 9% of people in our industry are actually coming from a low social economic background.
Wow,
That's from the latest stats from the Tech Talent Charter. So there's a lot of work to be done.
agreed.
What one piece of advice would you give to someone from a low social economic background who is trying to navigate a career in the channel?
I th- I've got two really, but
You can
I
have
hope
you
you
can
don't
have
mind.
two. You can have two, Jody.
One is as be brave. Like, again, don't listen to the voice in your head, the chimp on the shoulder, whatever you want to say that's telling you you're not good enough. If you think you can do something, go and just do it or try it or and apply. So be brave. Um, but network as well. I just think talk to people, be part of forums, join, networking events, just get to know people, because it is unbelievable how many times roles, opportunities are unlocked just from knowing somebody. It's not
Yeah,
necessarily a step up, but it's just like say hearing and understanding that there is opportunities out there. So networking and be brave.
love that. Networking and be brave. Jody, you have well and truly smashed the class ceiling. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you very much for having me on. I've loved it, Yvonne. Really enjoyed the chat.
No, it's been great. Thank you.